Hey, welcome back! Today we are solving the multiple choice questions on IELTS listening, and this was such a requested topic. I'm so glad to be finally here presenting it to you and sharing my knowledge and tips on how to tackle those questions. If you're also interested in learning how to solve the map labeling questions on IELTS listening, please click that info card right there and watch the video. Now let's jump straight into it, and today we are having two tests on our listening to basically practice the multiple choice questions. And please do not comment down below saying, oh, this was so easy, I wish the questions were from the actual IELTS test. They are, guys. All the questions that I show you are from the real IELTS tests. And what makes them look so easy is the strategies that I share with you so that you understand the underlying basis of how to solve those questions. Okay, now let's stop wasting our time and start. As always, you can download the files down below. I have linked everything to this particular lesson. You will have your own working sheet and you will be able to first treat this lesson as a mock test, trying to solve the questions on your own, and then listening to my own examples and explanation.
Hi Bill, how are you?
I'm okay now, Sarah, but I was so ill last week.
Oh dear, what was the problem? Did you eat that dodgy fish in the canteen?
No. At first I thought it was a cold, but then my head started hurting and my eyes started to go blurry.
I'm so sorry. That sounds serious.
It's okay, actually. I went to the doctor and he diagnosed me with a migraine. He gave me some medicine and I'm starting to feel much better.
I'm glad to hear that. Well, I'm also glad you're in today, because we have to work on a new project together.
Oh, are we in the same section?
No, it's just us. No one else. Mr. Donaldson has put us down as B team because we live near each other.
That could be fun. What do we have to do?
Well, the project is partly internet research, then checking reference books for information to prepare a survey, which we have to use with people we know.
Great. What's the topic?
It's to do with shopping over the last 10 years. We have to find out how customers have changed their behaviour.
Okay, so what's the first step?
I think the first thing to do is check the list of references he gave me. But my computer is in for repair, so if I check in the reference library, would you be willing to look up some references online? Once we're done with the reference checks, we can write the questions together.
That's fine. I'll do the internet research. So, what sort of shopping are we looking at? Only food or goods or clothes shopping?
We have to find people who are willing to tell us about personal things like deodorants, cosmetics, soap or vitamin creams. The other groups are doing food, electrical goods and clothes.
That won't be easy, Sarah. People might think those things are a bit private.
Yes, I thought about that. I'll ask the women and you can ask the men. That should work okay.
Well, if you think so, give me the list of references then.
Sorry, I left them in my other bag at Joseph's house. I'll get them for you tomorrow.
Okay. Well, then this afternoon I think I'll catch up on the notes from last week. Can you help me, or are you busy?
I've made you a copy of the notes already, to save you time. Here you are.
Wow, thanks, Sarah. That's so thoughtful. Well, since there's nothing for us to do right now, shall we go for lunch?
Actually, I'll have to catch you later. I have to go to a meeting this afternoon. Can I phone you tonight to arrange when to meet?
No, sorry, I have a date. Can we meet in the laboratory for the first class tomorrow?
I'm not sure because I have to go to the library to collect some books. What about meeting there at lunchtime?
You mean in the lab?
Yes.
Okay, see you in the laboratory tomorrow at noon then. Sounds like we have a lot of work to do.
Okay, cool. Now you've listened to the first recording and let me explain to you the whole thought process behind that. And I will be looking at my laptop here, so don't be surprised that I'm looking there. So the first question is, Bill was ill. What was wrong? Right? This is quite an easy question because if you remember in the recording, and now we will have the questions here, and in the recording, Bill said, at first I thought it was a cold. Right? This is a small trap. He says, at first, I thought it was a cold. And please do not think that the first time you're hearing a word, this is a correct answer. No, because this is the perfect example of how this works. He tries to confuse you saying, at first it was a cold, but Then my head started hurting and now my eyes started to go blurry. And now if we're looking at the multiple options that we have to answer that question, we see A, a cold, B, a food allergy, and C, a severe pain in his head. And obviously food allergy is not a correct answer. He just was not talking about food allergies at all. And the first A, cold, is not a correct answer because he said at first he thought it was a cold, but eventually it wasn't. And lastly, we have C, a severe pain in his head. And this is the correct answer to our question number 21. Moving on, 22nd. Bill and Sarah, A, live near each other, B, have never worked on a project together, and C, have plans for later or evening. Now let's skip a little bit of the recording, and then Sarah says, no, it's just us, no one else. Mr. Donaldson put us down as B team because we live near each other. This is quite straightforward. She just says bluntly and directly, we live near each other. And therefore, for the question number 22, this is a correct answer. A, they live near each other. Then they're moving on talking about the project, and the next question says Bill and Sarah have to A, research and write a survey questionnaire, B, ask shopkeepers questions, and C, submit their project via the internet. And then straight after our last question, Sarah says, well, the project is partly internet research, then checking reference book for information to prepare a survey, which we have to use with people we know. So what kind of information we can get in from this paragraph? She says that this is partly internet research, and then checking the reference book to prepare a survey and then use the survey with people they know. Looking at our options at the question 23, we see that only option A really fits here. Nothing else. They don't talk about shopkeepers, they don't talk about submitting their project, they are just talking about how the project is done, and it is done by the internet with the internet research. So the question number 23 has the correct answer, A. Next one can be a little bit more complicated. Now, question number 24, it says, what does Sarah want Bill to do? A, visit the library, B, write a list of questions, C, use a computer. So then in the recording, Sarah says, I think the first thing to do is to check the list of reference he gave me. But my computer is on the repair now, so if I check in the reference library, would you be willing to look up some references online? She talks to Bill, would you be willing to look some references online? And this basically is the grammar structure. Would you be willing to? When she asks Bill to do something, she wants Bill to look up references online. And therefore, she wants Bill to use a computer because she doesn't want Bill to go to the library. She will go to the library. She doesn't want Bill to write a list of questions. They have not talked about that because then she says, once we are done with the reference checks, we can write the questions together, so the questions they're writing together, and we are only left with the option C, to use a computer. Then the next question is, which of the following items will be included in Bill and Sarah's research? A, deodorants and cosmetics, B, electrical goods, and C, food and clothing. So this one is not difficult at all because a little bit later in the recording, Sarah again says, we have to find people who are willing to tell us about their personal things, like deodorants, cosmetics, soap, or vitamin creams. The other groups are doing food, electrical goods, and clothes. So they still name all those other options in our answers there, but they're not really training to Sarah and Bill because other groups are doing that. And Sarah and Bill are only doing the research on deodorant and cosmetics, also soap and vitamin creams, but they're not mentioned in our options for answers. So for question number 25, answer A is the correct one. Next question, 26, says, with what aspect of the project does Bill express concern? And again, not difficult at all because the next sentence, Bill says, that won't be so easy, Sarah. People might think those things are a bit private. So this is his concern. Sarah says, yes, I thought about that. Well, I'll ask the women and you can ask the man. That should work okay. So this is the concern. Which option out of those really matches this concern? A, meeting the project's timeline? No. B, invading people's privacy? Yes. And C, finding enough reference material? No. So only B is the correct answer to our question number 26. Okay, moving on, question 27. What does Bill plan to do for the rest of the day? Again, not very far in the recording, Bill says, okay, well then this afternoon I think I'll catch up on the notes from last week. Can you help me or are you busy? So, let's look at the options we have there. Option A, review the notes from the previous week. Yes, this is the correct option. He will catch up on the notes from the previous week. Catch up is equal to review, and this is the big tip from me. Please, please, please learn the synonyms, because synonyms are so huge. These are just a big, crucial clue for you that will help you to understand the majority of your listening tests, because the majority of them will contain synonyms, not the exact words. So, review the notes from the previous week is the same as to catch up on the notes from last week. Synonyms, but the same meaning. Option B, prepare for the next meeting with Sarah. No, he doesn't talk about that. And find people to participate in the research. Again, no, he doesn't talk about that. Next question, what does Sarah do for Bill? Options are, let him borrow the book. B, gives him a copy of her notes. And C, promises to help him study. She actually says when he asks her, can you help me or are you busy? And she says, I've made you a copy of the notes already to save you time. Here you are. So she have made him already the copy of his notes. And therefore, question number 28, what does Sarah do for Bill? She basically gives him a copy of her notes. We are left just with two questions right there, 29 and 30. So for 29, we have, what does Sarah have to do at the library? A, research, B, meet Bill, and C, collect some books. So she says, not very further away in the recording, I'm not sure because I have to go to the library to collect some books. What about meeting there at lunchtime? So straightforward, right? I mean, it's not even synonyms. It's the same language. I have to go to the library to collect some books. So, for question number 29, the correct answer is C, collect some books. And lastly, for our last question there, question number 30, where do Bill and Sarah agree to meet the next day? A, in the library, B, in class, C, in the laboratory. And when Sarah asks, what about meeting there at lunchtime? Bill says, do you mean in the lab? Sarah says, yes. And Bill says, okay, see you in the laboratory tomorrow. And at noon then. Sounds like we have a lot of work to do. So they are meeting tomorrow in the laboratory, in the lab. Pretty straightforward. Again, nothing very difficult. When you think about it, when you are prepared for listening to synonyms and hearing the synonyms, when you are anticipating in the beginning what kind of answers you might get, this is not difficult at all. Now let's try again and listen to another recording, another test.
Hey Jess, glad you could make it. We've got a lot to discuss.
Hi Matt. Yes, sorry I'm a bit late. I did bring all my notes with me.
Yes, me too. Where shall we start?
Well, I think it would be a good idea to clarify our objectives just one more time.
Yes, good idea. Okay, here we are. We need to record, photograph, and identify the plant species in 10 1-square-meter plots.
Does it say anything about where these plots should be and how they should be laid out?
Ah, here it is. It says that all the plots need to be no more than 10 meters apart.
And how do we choose them?
Ah, this is the fun part. I remember this. Here we are. Make a 1-meter square frame using bamboo sticks available from the department stores.
Yes, we've already done that.
I know, I'm just reading the whole section.
Okay.
One person stands roughly in the middle of the chosen area and throws the frame. The other person uses a tape to mark out the square where the frame landed and returns frame to thrower. The thrower then turns a few degrees on the spot and throws again. The thrower must turn slightly after each throw and vary the force of the throw until after the 10th throw they are pointing in almost the same direction as the first.
That sounds a bit complicated.
That's only because it's all in writing. It's just a simple throw, turn, throw, turn, throw, turn until we have 10 squares.
And I guess you want to do the throwing.
Well, if you don't mind. I'm sure you'll be more accurate at marking the squares.
Yes, I am sure I am, and I'm sure you've got a strong...
Okay, good. We've got that sorted. Now we need to decide where to go.
Yes, I've been thinking about that, and I've brought the map.
Ah, well done. I forgot mine.
Now, I've identified 3 possible locations, but they've all got some disadvantages.
Okay, fire away.
Well, the area around this lowland marsh could be interesting. There'll be a lot of interesting water plants here.
Looks good, but what's the problem?
Mainly that it's already a designated nature reserve, and I think there's already been a lot of research done here.
Ah, I see. Well, I'd rather do something that's new and can be useful.
I agree. That's why I identified this area further west. See, here, behind the beach.
Oh yes, I see. That area there, where it's flat, but quite high.
Exactly. If you look a bit further inland, you'll see that there are hills which will protect that area from strong north winds.
I see. Excellent. But what's the problem?
Just that it may not be very interesting. We know that the geology there is not conducive to a wide variety of plants.
I agree. So what's your last idea?
Well, I think this one is a bit of a winner, although I did want to show you the other 2. Look up here on the north coast.
Where?
See this bay? Well, I know that there's been quite a lot of studies done here, but a bit further to the east, behind this headland. No one has ever looked at that. Well, I certainly couldn't see any studies.
That is interesting. And the plant life could be a bit different because of the shelter from the wind the headland provides.
Exactly.
Brilliant, Jessica. That's a great idea. We'll go there.
Thanks. Now all we have to decide is when is a good time.
Well...
Great, you've listened to the next one, and now let's do it together. So the first question number 21, Jess wants to start the meeting by A. Organizing his notes, B. Taking a photo, and C. Reviewing the objectives for the project. And indeed, in the beginning of the transcript, in the beginning of the recording, Jessica says, well, I think it will be a good idea to clarify our objectives just one more time. In the very beginning, when Matthew asks, where shall we start? She says, I think it would be a good idea to clarify our objectives. So, to clarify our objectives, it is the same as to review the objectives. It's not organizing the notes, it's not taking a photo, so options A and B are out, and option C is the correct one, reviewing the objectives for the project. Next question number 22, what are Matt and Jess planning to study? A. Different species of insects. B. Different species of plants. Or C. Old photos. After Jessica said that she wants to review the objectives, Matthew says, yes, good idea. Okay, here we are. We need to record, photograph and identify the plant species in 10 1 square meter plots. Okay, so they need to photograph, record and identify the plant species. It's not about planning to study old photos. It's not about species of insects. It's about species of plants. Again, quite straightforward. You didn't even see there a lot of synonyms. And for question number 22, the correct answer is answer B. Next question, how far apart are the plots supposed to be? It's either A, 12 feet apart, B, 10 meters apart, or C, 10 miles apart. I mean, probably C is not correct. You can tell it right now, probably 10 miles apart. You cannot really study anything being so distant from each other. And anticipating the answers right here really helps you to think and maybe work out answers right now. Because, okay, let's be honest, C is not a valid option. So it's either 12 feet apart or 10 meters apart. Let's see what they say in the recording. Jessica says, does it say anything about where these plots should be and how they should be laid out, right? Matthew says, oh, here it is. It says that the plots need to be no more than 10 meters apart. Great! Obviously it's not 10 miles, it's not 12 feet, it's 10 meters. For question number 23, the correct answer is B. Next question, where can the bamboo sticks be purchased? A. Department stores, B. Toy shops, and C. Gardening centers. So, when they want to purchase the bamboo sticks, they are discussing that, and Matthew says, this is the fun bit. I remember this. Here we are, make a 1 meter square frame using bamboo stick available from the department stores. Again, no synonyms, very straightforward. The bamboo sticks are available from the department stores. Please listen carefully and you will know that for question number 24, the correct answer is A, department stores. Now, question number 25, one person throws the frame and the other person, what do? A, turns on the spot, B, smiles and waves, and C, marks out the squares. Again, let's think about that for a moment. Smiles and waves, really? I don't really think that this is the correct answer for our research, because you can imagine how smiling and waving can be useful for one's research. And then turns on the spot, well, might be, but for our studying of the plant species, turning on the spot is not really relevant, right? So even not hearing the recording, just thinking about it, we can already identify that options A and B are probably out, they're not relevant. And yes, indeed, when you are listening then, Matthew says that one person stands right in the middle of the chosen area and throws the frame. The other person uses a tape to mark out the square where the frame landed. And then he goes on saying, and returns the frame to thrower. The thrower then turns a few degrees on the spot. Here, it actually was there. The thrower turns a few degrees on the spot and throws it again. So this is a thrower who turns on the spot, not the other person, right? And we are talking right now about the other person, not the thrower. So A is out. B, smiles and waves. Not really relevant. And yeah, C is a true answer, is the correct answer. Question number 25, option C is the correct one. But then Jessica proceeds to saying that the instructions are really difficult and they sound a bit complicated. Why is it so? In our question 26, it is said that the instructions sound a bit complicated because A, they are in writing, B, there is much turning around, and C, there are so many squares. And actually, Matthew, when he hears that Jessica says that the instructions are complicated, he says that's only because it's all in writing, right? It's just a simple throw, turn, until we have 10 squares. So the instructions initially sound very much complicated just because they are in writing. Because when you think about them, they become a little bit more clear. And therefore, for question number 26, option A is the correct one. Question number 27, Jess thinks Matt should do the throwing because A, he has more experience, B, he has a stronger arm, and C, he is more accurate. Here, if you think about that, actually all of them are relevant, or they might be relevant, because indeed he can have more experience, or he can be more accurate, or he can have a stronger arm. But when we are listening, Jessica says, and I guess you want to do the throwing. Matthew says, well, if you don't mind, I'm sure you'll be more accurate at marking the squares. And Jessica says, yes, I am sure I am, and I am also sure you've got stronger throwing arm. So Jessica will be more accurate at taping the squares, whereas Matt will be more accurate at throwing because he has a stronger arm. And therefore, question number 27 has the correct answer B. Matthew has a stronger arm. We're now left with only 3 questions, and they look a little bit more complicated. For this one, you really need to have a look at the questions for a bit to kind of understand what's going on. They will have 3 different locations, numbered from 28 to 30, and then they will discuss the feasibility of going and doing research in those locations. So they're not going to go at each of the 3, they are actually going to go either at 1 or 2, I don't know. And you will have to identify where they are going and where they are not. And so you really need to be attentive to the recording. So they start discussing the locations, with Jessica saying, "Now I identified 3 possible locations, but they've all got some disadvantages." Matthew says, "Okay, fire away." Jessica says, "Well, the area around this lowland marsh," so this is our number 28, "could be interesting. There will be a lot of interesting water plants here." And Matthew says, "Looks good, but what's the problem?" Jessica says, "Mainly, this is already a designated nature reserve, and I think there is already been a lot of research done." And then Matthew says, "Yes, I'd rather do something that's new and be useful." And so you can understand that they are not very keen on going to the first location, because Matthew says, "Oh yeah, I see, but I'd rather do something else, something new, something more useful." So we can already say that for our question number 28, the correct answer will be C, because they're not going to go there. They're just looking for something more useful. So already now for our question 28, we know that the correct answer is C. They are not going to go there. They are looking for something more useful. And then for the next one, Jessica says, "I agree. That's why I identified this area further west. See here, behind the beach." So this is our question number 29. They're talking about the area behind the beach. And she also says, if you look a bit further inland, you'll see that there are hills which will protect that area from the strong north winds. Matthew says, "I see, excellent, but what's the problem?" Because he knows there should be a disadvantage to it. And Jessica says, "Just that it might not be very interesting, because we know that the geology there is not conducive to a wide variety of plants." And Matthew says, "Yes, I agree." So again, they agree that this location is not useful and not interesting for their research, so they're not going to go there. And question number 29 has again the correct answer, C. They will not go there. And lastly, for the 30th question, she says, "See this bay? Well, I know that there has been quite a lot of studies done there, but a bit further to the east, behind the headland, no one has ever looked at that. Well, I certainly couldn't see any studies. So this land is not studied at all, it is not examined, and this is what they have wanted from the very beginning." And indeed, Matthew says, "This is interesting, and the plant life could be a bit different because of the shelter from the wind the headland provides." "Exactly," says Jessica. Matthew says, "Brilliant, Jessica, this is a great idea, we'll go there." So they have agreed on going there to the behind the headland near the bay. To study new species of plants there, because there might be something interesting. And therefore, for our question number 30, the correct answer is A. They will go there. Great! Thank you so much for being here. I really hope this became clear. I personally have 9.0 in my listening test, and I wanted to share with you my strategies on how do I comprehend and understand what to listen to, how to anticipate, how to tackle the questions. I hope it was clear and understandable. And as always, again, you can download the worksheet under the video. There is everything linked. Thank you so much for being here with me. I will be very happy if you decide to leave a like for me or even subscribe. And as always, I will be delighted to see you again here. Ciao!